Monday Night Live. Been a while. Been a minute, some people would say. This is the Rebel Scum podcast and Digital Charcuterie, where we're talking Star Wars today. Anything anyone wants to talk about, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm trying to do stuff here. Multitasking is not my strong suit. Everybody, I'm James. Joining me today is executive producer Heidi. And
hello.
Next to Heidi is Sooner Theron.
Hello, how are y'all?
Thanks for joining me on this.
Thanks for having us, man.
Casually Flying Friday. You guys doing well?
Yep.
Good.
I just pretty much got home from work. But other than that,
you guys had a. This week's a long week. Last week was like your short week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the Friday. Everybody, well, not everybody, but majority of people had the 3-day weekend.
You're in Texas, right?
Yeah, Dallas. Yeah, Dallas area.
Yeah. Were you affected by the mudslides or?
No, that's horrible, awful. But no, that's not anywhere. That's much more west, I believe. I believe it's west.
We actually had hail on Saturday, like really big hail, and I know it doesn't necessarily happen in winter, but you don't expect it in the middle of July. Really big chunks of ice.
Yeah. Yeah, we get hail sometimes, but we hadn't been too bad this year. But yeah, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. I'm trying to move. I find a house, and then I got laid off in March, and but I was able to now have a new job starting in August. So,
awesome. Congratulations!
So that's the nervousness of that is finally over. So,
hey, Ron.
Ron's coming from a Rise of Skywalker rant compilation. So he's ready to go.
Ron should be happy because I'm not in the chat tonight. For some reason, every time I try to erase something I don't like, I end up like reporting him or something. And I always feel bad.
YouTube hates Ron, by the way. Because
so I don't do it on purpose. I'm sorry when it happens.
He's been blackballed from YouTube.
Oh no!
Heidi, every time he's on Heidi, he's like block, mute.
No, I go to change mine, and I end up muting his, and I don't know why.
Well, Ron, anything you want us to talk about, we will talk about. So you let us know in the chat because I know you have a few topics that you want us to discuss. First, though, I do want to talk about the Acolyte, which is. It's a new show, just came out. I don't know if anyone there's never a more topical time to talk about the Acolyte than a year after it's left us.
Yeah.
Ron tries to watch both sides of these issues. I believe you.
I liked it. It was like we were saying before, and you're like, what will happen? You were like, well, we better be saying this stuff on the air then.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good. I think the show had just centered around maybe Chimera. It might have been better because I think he was definitely the breakout character, and I think he's like one of the best Star Wars villains ever because he's not one-dimensional. He had a characteristic, and I think they did Darth Jar Jar correctly with him. And if you're a Reylo fan, I know Ron isn't, but if you're a Reylo fan, you probably like the dynamic between Chimera and Osha. Now the downside is Osha, who's the star of the show, was probably the most boring character. So, even though I like their relationships,
I'm glad you're saying this, Heidi, because you started with you like the show, and I'm glad you're pointing out. It's not all rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the way that it was kind of when it was, when they said they were going to do this and kind of was talked about. It's the Acolyte. I always thought it was going to be more of a show that finally takes on where a lot more of it. The major part is focusing on the Sith. Acolyte, how he became, and it just really wasn't that. It was mostly still about the Jedi and then the witches, and then the best part of the whole show, which is what we thought that show was going to be, was the best part, but they didn't do very much of it. They could have done just so much more. That they could have tied in, Chimera, what happened, why did he leave Vern? I mean, that was something I think they could have focused a lot more on that. And then they tease us with Plagueis. They should have just gone ahead and had him be his
Mhm.
master, and I think it would have been a lot better. And I do like some of the fight scenes were pretty awesome. I did like the Jedi character, the girl from that's in the Wolverine, then like Logan.
Yeah, Jackie.
Jackie, yes, I thought she was a really good character, but they killed her off pretty fast. I mean, I liked her, and Chimera was by far the best. She was my favorite Jedi, though.
I mean, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say I like the fact that nobody had plot armor, that everybody was a red shirt.
Yeah.
Also, something I heard, apparently they had to change it because the show got canceled. They changed it to him actually being Plagueis's acolyte or Padawan, and originally it was going to be, I guess, I don't have the books, but this is apparently from Star Wars Meg, who read the visual dictionary. I guess originally Chimera was not going to be a Sith. He was going to be a Sith wannabe. And that's why Plagueis was stalking him. Not because he wanted an apprentice, but because he was mad that this guy, Pretender, was taking on the mantle of a Sith when he really wasn't.
That was the original story?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we'd have gotten Plagueis. We'd have got him a lot more. I think people would have liked that. That's a lot different. But to me, that is a little bit closer to the way it was kind of promoted, to be honest, because it
still feels unfinished. Like it feels like they had a concept, but they never completed the concept. Like they were like, we have an idea, it's loose, we don't have it all yet, and they just never figured it all out.
Yeah, and they could have had it more where, maybe Plagueis found, I don't know about the faking the Sith and all that, or maybe Chimera found these witches, and that's how one of the ways Plagueis was able to kind of start trying to figure out how he was going to cheat death and everything, because they had that magic power. That would have been a cool way for them to kind of get into that more, but they just they just couldn't let the Jedi stuff go. They just kept going back to it, and it just wasn't that part wasn't that good. So.
A show with a lot of ideas, some terrible witches, but some really, really strong ideas that I wish they would have fleshed out. And instead, it's you get it in a visual dictionary or whatever. And
I just saw a book was announced that's going to be with Jackie. Is that her name? And what was the other? Yort or Tor? What was the name? Yord or something?
Yord.
Yeah, it's a book about those two going on an adventure before.
Yeah, nobody cares about them.
I do agree with Sooner on that. Jackie was really interesting, but I actually liked that she died really fast because it showed that there were stakes. Now the stakes were kind of meh because the show was, for me anyway, didn't feel like it went anywhere. But I like that part of it. But again, they're making a book about these characters that die 3, 4, whatever it is, episodes into a show that don't have much character development in the show. Like as much as you like the character, there's not much character development. It's not like when Andor, for instance, where you have Cassian Andor in an episode and they fleshed out. I don't know. There's just not. I mean, she's really young too compared to Andor, so there's I don't know. I guess a few people will read the book, but.
Yeah,
I kind of feel like Star Wars books have lost their way a little. I haven't read one in a long time because I feel like they've started to lose their way, and I'm just like, too many. There's too many of them.
I do like the audiobooks. I did actually. I just did download a brand new. I think it's a kind of a remastered, or maybe they've never done audiobook. I'm not sure for the Shadows of the Empire. I don't know if
they did one.
They did one years ago, but this is brand new, remastered or something. Really? It just came out this month or last month.
Have you listened to it yet?
I've gotten through the first couple of chapters, and it's good. It's good.
When we first started this podcast, about 4 or 5 months into it, the February we first started, so it would have been 2016, 17, somewhere on there. We did, might have been 2017. We did a Shadows of the Empire podcast. The whole podcast was about Shadows of the Empire, the book, the comics. Brock played the video game during it. It's still on YouTube. But Rob listened to the audiobook, and I have to ask you, how do they say Coruscant? Because in his audiobook, they said Coruscant.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, it is kind of different. I'll just kind of look for that a little bit more. But for some
Yeah,
reason,
let
there
me
were
know.
a few things, unless they fix it. Maybe they did, and I just didn't notice it. But
Well, the holiday special Kashyyyk was Kazook, so
Kazook.
yeah. We're not gonna actually call it the Kazook system.
Oh my god, I love that. Kazook. That's like
what
the
the
Great
Kazook
Kazoo.
system?
Yeah,
What was?
Kashyyyk.
Oh God, Kashyyyk. Okay,
Yeah,
Kazook.
yeah,
Like
Where did they say
Flintstones.
that at?
the holiday special.
Oh,
They probably didn't know
Yeah.
how to pronounce it. Yeah,
Yeah.
And yet, and contrary to certain belief, not everything was known by everybody right off the bat.
I know. I mean, when nobody had any way, it was just they did that. Didn't
Yeah.
they do that holiday special like 6 or 8 months after the first movie, right? Or was it like
No,
within a
that was
year?
70. That was 78. The movie came out in 77. Actually,
So
the Donnie Marie one was before the official holiday special. There was like a Donnie Marie Star Wars special.
So are Donnie Marie canon, and why haven't they been in Star Wars since?
I don't know, but I will say they're prolific in because Donnie was Luke and Marie was
They called it.
Leia. So I think they figured out that they were
And
kissing.
George
blood.
Lucas paid attention to that and was like, "They're onto something here. This is how we're going to
Yeah,
do it."
and then yeah, I remember it. The Osmonds were the stormtroopers. It was a gay comedian. I think he was Canadian. He used to be on Hollywood Squares a lot.
Bruce Valanche?
No.
I don't know.
Louis Anderson?
No. This is from the 70s. He used to be on Hollywood Squares in the 70s, but I'm blocking his name. He had his own show. Whatever. Anyway, that guy played Grand Moff Tarkin. Moff Tarkin. Red Fox was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Han Solo was Chris Christopherson.
Chris Christopherson, he would have been a good. He could have been a good Han Solo. He definitely could have been a good Han Solo. I like Chris Christopherson.
Paul Lynn.
The others
Paul Lynn was
Paul Lynn. Yeah, Paul Lynn.
So,
speaking of Obi-Wan and Josh, I know he's a little iffy, but also Josh does know his stuff some. He says the Kenobi season 2 might actually not be just a joke. It may be real. Do you think it's real? And Josh, like I said, he's kind of up, but he does have some good. Sometimes he has some good tips. Some of his things have come true. I always give him credit. He said the Mando universe was what was going to happen like 2 years before Mandalorian came out, and so I don't know.
No,
Obi-Wan. I mean, I don't know.
No, I know. Like Star Wars Meg says it's going to happen. So
she said it's not going to happen, or is going to happen.
Is going to happen.
Is that a legitimate one? That
I mean, yeah, she's about the same as he is, I guess, but she has.
Okay, yeah, they're both pretty good then. Yeah, okay.
She has an insider, so I don't know. I might send her videos to James here in case he's looking for stuff. But
here, let's go. I'm going to.
I would be a little surprised. I would be a little surprised, but I liked some of it. Some of it was not very good, but I think overall was pretty good. But like, could have been about a 3-hour movie, and I think
yeah,
should have been a movie.
That should have been a movie, and Solo should have been the miniseries.
Yeah, Solo definitely has a lot more that could be a great series.
Well, the problem was there was no TV, there was no Disney Plus when Solo came out. That's the the issue with it. Let's take that off so we can see your faces. Here we go. Somehow Obi-Wan Kenobi may return for season 2 on Disney. By the way, the whole like somehow Palpatine return, they need to give this a rest. Like the line, everyone takes the line out of context. He's just frustrated that Palpatine's back. He has no idea how. That's not the movie's answer to it. I mean, the movie's answer is terrible, but that's not it. And Disney Plus this is from Forbes, and it's by Paul Tassi, senior contributor. 9:26 a.m. on Canada Day, guys. Canada Day. You guys celebrate that down there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Big day for you guys. Canada Day.
I know. I stepped into some geese crap on the other day, so maybe
Canadian guys have your eagles, and they're awesome. We have geese.
Yeah,
they're the worst.
They're like they hang out here in Pennsylvania a lot and crap all over the place.
They should be the Pennsylvania geese.
Well,
they ruin our name.
There's a chain of convenience stores in the East Coast called Wawa, and their symbol is the Canadian goose. And there's a Wawa Canada. I've been there, so I don't know if like somebody from Philadelphia who created the store was originally from Wawa, Canada, but it's just weird because it says Wawa and it has a Canadian goose on it, but it's a Pennsylvania.
Wawa. Where's Wawa? Wawa.
That's in Ontario.
Ontario. Well, Ontario is very big.
Yeah.
It's a convenience store chain.
Yeah. It's the East Coast. It's all up and down.
Wawa.
Oh my gosh. That's Wawa is probably like a 20-hour drive for me.
Yeah, because it's it's above Wisconsin area.
Oh, okay,
yeah. It's right above Wisconsin. It's actually more south than some of Minnesota and North Dakota. Well, so am I, though, so that's not that impressive.
It's a lake thing, but we were there. I think we were there for that was that trip I was talking about where my dad was there for like 24 hours. He was like, let's get the hell out.
You're the only person I've ever mentioned Wawa.
Yeah. Well,
it's right on the water, though. It's probably a lovely town.
Yeah, it's a beautiful town, but we stayed in this cabin and it got sprayed. A skunk had sprayed it and it smelled all night. And
I've only been to the West Coast. I've been to like Banff and
the hoity-toity places.
Lake Louise. Was that Lake Louise with big glacier?
Yeah, that's I've never been up on that. Used to live there.
Yeah, I've been up on that big glacier. You know that you go.
Wow.
You lived in that area?
Me? What?
You lived in that
area?
area?
We went on vacation.
My wife.
We were there for like 23 hours.
Did she do the glacier thing? We take the big trucks up to it and all that?
No, we just
might have.
No, I'm sorry. Me? Who? I don't know.
Oh, James said his wife.
I'm sorry.
Lake Louise. No, I don't know.
Lake Louise Lake Louise is like a really pretty lake has this massive.
Everyone calls it like one of the most nicest places that you can.
It's amazing.
It's Alberta. Yeah, no, I've never been to that province actually.
Yeah.
I've been to more states that have provinces. I'm very ashamed to say that. I guess.
And then you have these trucks. They have these trucks that are just. I mean, the tires are like 20 feet high, and they take you up this glacier into the top where you're on top of 1,000 feet of ice, and that's the glacier that melts into the lake. So if she's from that area, I'd be surprised if she never did that. And then Banff's really a neat town. So
yeah, Banff's supposed to be nice. They're all supposed to be nice. I've never been. I live
in Victoria Island. That I've also only went to Vancouver to catch the big ferry. You put your cars on, they take you to Victoria Island. That was it. But Victoria Island's very nice too.
Yeah, I went to Victoria Island last summer actually. Yeah, my wife did do that sooner.
Yep. The Birches Gardens, wasn't that a big thing at Victoria Island? Is that still there? Like a famous. I mean, it was. I was with my grandparents. It was, early '90s, and my granddad was this. He was huge into vegetation. I mean, he became a very well-off man in frozen food business, but that's also he loved anything like that, and. So these gardens, they were pretty amazing. I mean, they're flowers and stuff. But I have to admit, even someone who's not big on flowers, it was pretty dang amazing how big and what they had. So,
yeah. I just want to point out my dad didn't like anywhere we traveled. It wasn't anything in Canada. He just wanted to drive, and once he got there, he's like, let's turn around and go home.
Erin just said we took the big bus thingy up. Worth it. So she did take the bus. Yeah, she did it all. Yeah,
she knows. Yeah, what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Anyway, that's enough. I think we've done enough geography talk here, guys. Let's get to the meat of this. I've had this up the whole time. We have small faces. Ron is like, what's going on? Somehow, blah, blah, blah. Disney Plus Star Wars offerings routinely are thrown up in the air when it comes to whether they'll get more seasons. The Mandalorian and Andor are done. Mando with its movie. The Acolyte was canceled. The Book of Boba Fett is definitely dead. Who knows what happened with Skeleton Crew? A great show. See, this is stupid journalism. I'm positive a few people even knew it existed. I like this.
What, Skeleton?
Skeleton Crew. The only confirmed show getting a season 2 is Ahsoka, which is more likely, which will likely air close to 3 years after season 1. But now there are some potential developments with the series not mentioned above, Obi-Wan Kenobi. A new report from insider Daniel Rickman says that, who is a valid source, says that season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi is in development. By the way, they both get their information from Daniel Rickman, Megan, and Nerds. Says that season 2 of Obi-Wan Kenobi is in development at Lucasfilm. This is a show that aired in 2022, and it being in development would probably mean there would be 4 to 5 years between seasons, at least because this is how Disney Star Wars works now. Obi-Wan Kenobi had a solid enough 81% score from critics, but a much lower 61% score from fans. And it's one of those series that in hindsight, most fans probably like even less. Like, this journalism is terrible. But its ratings were decent, and it's been well documented that its star Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are itching to return for more. Here's McGregor back in. Okay, and then he says he wants to do more, and they're blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, so the source who's saying this is a legit source. A lot of big scoops he gets, and he puts them on his Patreon, and then you get them on there, and then people run with them. I don't know what to make of it. I think this article, as poorly written as it is, tells you right there. Yeah, it was a highly rated show. 61% of viewers liked it, which is 6 out of 10, which honestly is not that bad. Sure. And critics are idiots, and they liked it, but not that they can't like the show, just that critics are idiots. But my thing here is it. What makes no sense to me is this show costs significantly less than The Acolyte and significantly less than Andor, had better ratings than both of those, and for some reason they're reluctant to give it a second season.
Yeah, that is weird. I agree.
Here's something I heard about Ahsoka. So apparently Christensen and McGregor are returning in flashback scenes.
Yeah.
Anakin and Obi-Wan, and there's also rumors that we will get Padme Amidala. That
I've heard that. Yeah.
I block names, but you know, so we might have to get her too. So I think a lot of it may have to do with how well the Acolyte is received and how well the characters are received.
Yeah, but it's just, this one is not. It was like there was never even really thought to be a second one when it was kind of finishing. You know, like these others seemed like they had sort of even some rumors they would. This one has never had that until all of a sudden, like 2 years later. Oh, wait a minute, we may do another year, which I just, like you said, doesn't make a lot of sense. Why wasn't that being pushed immediately if the ratings and everything were better than most?
That's like the ratings were solid, even though audiences weren't liking it as much as they hoped that they would, based on whatever. But they were still coming out to watch it. So why wouldn't they continue it and be like, hey, we're going to do another one, and then maybe have a focus group and figure out where you might have gone wrong for audiences, clean up the mess a little bit, and work on it from there. But instead, it's just been like, yeah, we're never going to do it. And now Ewan McGregor's just getting older and older, as we all are.
Yeah.
And it's like, utilize him, man. Just put him on TV. Like, you spent all this money on Andor and Acolyte, and Andor is making its money back, but it's a streaming series. Like, it can't. Like, it can't make it back. And the other thing that did change, we talked about before, is when Solo came out, there was no streaming. Now there's streaming. But Tony Gilroy did say that Disney thinks that the streaming model is dead, which I kind of, when you're spending $300 million on a show, I don't know how you ever make that money back. I just don't know how you make
I don't know. I don't really know how they do, because I mean, I don't know, because how do you equivalent, subscriptions was for that. Is you just look at it when it started and some new people came on and then I mean, I don't even know how you gauge that.
Yeah.
And I remember I know the only rating system I've ever heard of my whole life, I think, is the Nielsen. And I never knew anybody that ever did it growing up. And I was like, whoever gets to do that? Well, I actually have a really good friend of mine that, like, 4 years ago, she actually was picked to do it.
No way.
She was.
Wow.
And they came out to her house, her apartment. I don't know how she got it. I can't remember how. They put her this big contraption on her TV, and she was the people that do ratings. And I was there, and I asked the guy, or maybe I can't remember. I asked him. I said, "So how do they do ratings for streaming?" He says, "We don't have anything to do with that." He goes, "They all have their own guidelines, and we don't really know what they are."
I was just gonna say I deliver the mail, and I'm always delivering notices to people asking if they want to be part of the Nielsen family. So I think that's just random. They send you a letter. I mean, what doesn't?
Maybe so.
Let's-
I never knew anybody that got a letter before. So
If I ever got that, I don't think I would because I'm in Canada. But if I ever got that, I would watch the worst television you could. I would just put it on and walk away. It'd be like, man, people really watch a lot of SpongeBob. I'm like, yeah, we do.
But if you but all she had mostly is streaming. So I mean, what good did she do? She didn't. I don't even think she had like Hulu TV or anything. She just had streaming things. So I don't even know how that even.
I watched a lot of
helped
Jersey
anything.
Shore that year.
I mean, when I was a teenager, NBC used to call our house all the time and say, "Hey, we're watching the show. We want you to watch it, and then we're going to call you and ask about it." And I think,
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
Never even heard of anybody getting that.
maybe because I was in a college town. I don't know, but yeah, they called. It was like one was a Jim Henson show they tried to do in the late '80s, and another one was one with a battery guy got his own show. He's from Australia. I don't know. So the Energizer guy from Australia. Just obnoxious. I turned it off. I thought I'm not watching this.
Well, yeah. I mean, that when he mentioned we should get more TV movies. I mean, like, I don't have the, people save every kind of tweet in the world, but I don't have this one, of course. But I did say in 2020, why don't they do a movie with Grogu and Mando? And I did put it on social media on proof. But anyway, I didn't think that it would be 6 years later, and it'd still be the first movie. That's the most disappointing thing. Yeah. It actually is the first Star Wars movie that I thought was going to be like 2022 when I was suggesting they do it. No, not 2026, and it still is the first movie, which is terrible.
Well, I think COVID had a lot to do with that.
But there's been a lot of movies made since then. I mean,
that's the thing. Here's like, Star Wars has an opportunity to be massive, and I'm saying that because Jurassic Park 7 just came out, and I think a few months ago, Brock and I were talking, and I said, I think Jurassic Park is going to crush the box office. Yeah. And people were like, you're crazy. I'm like, yeah, but people go see these stupid movies. The last one made $1 billion. People want to see dinosaurs eating people. Like, that's just what people want to go see. And this movie came out, and it just crushed everything. And I don't know if Superman or Fantastic Four is going to end up making more than Jurassic. They might, but I don't know if they will. And Star Wars is in a spot now, like, look at Jurassic Park. Look what they got your buddy Gareth Edwards, Star Wars, who's, could do big, special effect extravaganza films on a small budget. Mm-hmm. I mean, $250 million is not that small, but it's small enough for Jurassic Park. Like, they're doing that with Mandalorian and Grogu, where it's a small budget. And I think if they focus on that, they focus on story and character, there's no way they don't have to make $1 billion, but there's no way to not be successful for Star Wars. There's still enough Star Wars fans who aren't burnt from or feel burnt from the sequel trilogy and the Solo and all that would still go see a Star Wars movie in the theater. And,
Grogu and Mando. I mean, I'll be shocked if it doesn't make at least $700 million, and that's going to be, and it's probably including marketing about a $250 million budget.
Yeah, so you're looking at a $500 million profit. Probably.
Yeah, I think that's no problem at all. And I think most movies would do that with Star Wars.
Uh-huh.
I mean, this is something I was thinking about this morning. I think what we have learned from Andor is you just got to hire a director who's just not a fan of Star Wars. I mean, he just liked it. But it's true, because if you think about it, the first 3 movies, the directors weren't fans of Star Wars because
George Lucas never even saw Star Wars.
Thing yet, yeah. And the point is, I'm talking about episodes 4, 5, and 6.
I know.
It wasn't a thing, so no one was a fan. When you got to the prequels, I'm not going to get an argument, but you could argue that George Lucas was too close to the material.
Watch it. My finger is on the remove button.
And then you get to the sequels, and you got Rian Johnson, you got J.J. Abrams. They're huge fans, but they're using their fandom and their vision. And I think you just need to do somebody who just doesn't have that much to lose, who just wants to do a good show and not care about what the fandom thinks. And that's the problem with Disney. They try to read the fandom, but they read them wrong. It's like, oh, people were angry about the Book of Boba Fett, so we're not going to do the Book of Boba Fett anymore. It's like, no, that's not what the fans want.
Even though, again, that one had high ratings also.
I know. I mean, why are you not going by ratings?
I liked the Book of Boba Fett, but I'll be honest with you, it's not that I didn't find his story interesting. And I actually found the redemption story arc where he lived among the Sand people and the thing with the Pikes attacking the train. That was great. But my favorite part was basically Mandalorian season 2.5, which was the last 3 episodes of the series. I always go and do every time I see a show, I go to my sister's house. We do a girls' weekend and we binge this stuff. And it's always better when you watch it boom, 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 boom instead of waiting once a week. But she wasn't a fan of Boba Fett. She didn't want to see it. I said, okay, well, we'll just watch the last 3 episodes. And she didn't need to see the first 4. You could have watched the last 3 episodes and not watched the first 4. So I think what it is they need, when Disney listens to fans, they're not listening to the right comments. And what they need to do, they need to find a balance where they don't listen to fans and make good content, but at the same time, they can't just throw away everything the fans say. And I think maybe you just need to worry about making a good show.
They do. Yep. I always think of because the fans, they've listened to the fans a few times. The Hollywood has, and one time was the Sonic the Hedgehog, where they were right. They should have listened to the fans on that one, and Ugly Sonic no longer exists, which is fantastic. But also Ninja Turtles, the first of the Michael Bay produced Ninja Turtles, the fans had an outcry because they made Shredder a white guy, and the fans went crazy. Like, he needs to be Japanese, and everyone threw a hissy fit on it online because they were whitewashing Shredder. And then they reshot all these Shredder scenes that are so disjointed, and it takes away from the actual movie because the relationship then that Shredder should have had with it doesn't exist anymore. And that's one time it's like, maybe, you know what, maybe you did the wrong thing, but maybe just stick with your guns on it. I think Star Wars has the same problem where it's like, how about you just do what you're doing and don't worry about the fans? But your point, Heidi, to hiring someone, that hasn't seen Star Wars versus these fanboys who love Star Wars is one thing I always think about when I think of the sequel trilogy, specifically The Force Awakens. As The Force Awakens to me almost feels like it was made from like the perspective of watching Star Wars instead of the perspective of being in Star Wars. Like, things are happening in the movie is super entertaining. It's a lot of fun. I'm not saying that, but like, it's almost like the things that are going on in it are from people who grew up watching Star Wars and are throwing it in. And like, it's like we're watching a Star Wars being told instead of being within Star Wars, if that makes sense. It's like, I feel like I can feel the writers writing it. I can feel where they're coming from. I know they're not coming from Luke's perspective. They're coming from my perspective watching Luke through all these years. They're like, that's how it feels. And that's how The Force Awakens more than the other two. The other two have their problems, but The Force Awakens for me was the first one. I was like, it didn't feel like it felt like I was in Star Wars, but it didn't feel like I was in Star Wars. It felt like I was watching Star Wars, which is part. That's to say what you're saying about Andor is Andor. You're in it. You feel like you're in it, and it's almost because they're not trying to immerse you with nostalgia in the past. It's the thing, and the thing is though is all that stuff is there, but very differently, and it's used in different ways. So you might be onto something there, Heidi.
Well, I think
it's strange. Go ahead.
I think they talk on the. I'm sorry. I'll only talk in a second. When the fandom's divided, I think most fans are going to be fans of the 4, 5, and 6. I think when the divide happens is, what do you prefer second, the prequel trilogy or the sequel trilogy? I think most people, number one is going to be the OG. I think divide, like I said, you're either more of a fan of the sequel trilogy or you're more a fan of the prequel trilogy. And I think that's where a lot of the divide happens.
And no doubt that of the Disney, the consistency regarding the Rogue One is a lot of people that were not huge sequel trilogy fans. They like Rogue One. Now, some of those people have watched Andor, some haven't. And if they haven't, I tell them you should watch it because it's really, really good. And it actually just builds on Rogue One. But pretty much consistently, it's hard to find very many people that were just absolutely did not like Rogue One. Unless the only reason I guess you could because you didn't have the Jedi or anything. But other than that, it's very much very well done. And you're talking about the ratings and why they're bringing some back and not. The thing that's funny about Acolyte is the way, and it's how they end. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi ended, you don't really. It'd be neat to have something else, but you don't really have a feeling there is a next thing. With Acolyte, yeah, you see how much where it can go, and you're like, this is one of those shows where maybe season 2 is going to be better. That's the way it was for the Lord of the Rings Amazon. Season 1 was okay, but season 2 is really good, and it just seems like that. But they're not doing the one that, to me, really left to where they have a lot more to tell.
Just give them less money. Like, just make a second season, give them less money. And you know what? It's all Star Wars. So just call it Star Wars and trick us all into watching season 2 of The Acolyte by lying to us, but it's still Star Wars. Because I agree. It's like, I don't know, if you have a plan, if you're all, now they're saying it's not going to be all connected, but if it's all connected, then you got to stick to your guns. And then you have to, but also the sequel trilogy is, they started off on the wrong foot with, there was no plan. Like, you need to have a plan. They need to lock themselves in a room and just be like, we're starting here, we're ending here. All the middle stuff, we could do whatever we want, but we're starting here and we're ending here. And you have to know where you're ending on some level. Because like I said, like all the middle stuff, you can make it up as you go along and have fun and do whatever, and it can go in all these directions, and you can have other exits if you want, but something's got to end here. You have to know where you're going, what the purpose of your story is, what the purpose of your story is and where it's going. And I don't know if Acolyte had that. It felt at the end it might have, but watching it throughout, I was like, I'm not really sure about this. But again, Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi had that. They both ended. Like, they were one story. Right. Like, okay, we're good to go. We don't need any more. But Acolyte's like, what's going on? Ahsoka was the biggest offender of them all.
Oh yeah, Ahsoka.
It was just like, we're just gonna stop.
I know. They just flip sit. Now we got the different people are in the old, and the other people are back in the galaxy.
Yeah,
I'm like, come on.
It's just what I heard from the Acolyte season 2. It sounded amazing, and that's what we should have gotten. And I think they were so sure that they were getting a second season that they saved all the good stuff for season 2. Now, supposedly, I don't know, James disagrees with me. This is a rumor. Supposedly, what happened was Kymir was just a bit player, but the actor was just so amazing that Leslie Hudson reshot a lot of it because of him, to include him. So I don't know. I mean, if that's the case, that was a good idea. But
yeah, I mean, I'm glad they did, because I mean, it would have not been even near as good if they didn't. I mean, if he was in just a little bit, which again makes no sense, because it's called The Acolyte.
And he's just in a little bit also. Like, he's not in it that much.
Yeah, I mean, it's called The Acolyte, and you still had it focus. And if you wanted to do this, I would think I would have loved them to do a flashback and have Vern explain her, what happened with her and him. And then she could even tie in a little bit of the story of the High Republic, of talking about what the Jedi, what we had been through. Because that I've listened to the 4 big picture ones. Not all of them, but the 4 big picture ones are a really, really good story. And Marcion Rowe sucks. He's one of the best villains that Star Wars ever had, and no one knows anything about him, but he is fantastic. And I really wish they would have done a flashback. It could have been someone about, what happened with Chimera or whatever his name was back then with her, and also to show what they went through to save Gazi. Because I mean, Marcion Rowe took over like 40% of the galaxy from. I mean, that he was just a reigning terror as a terrorist. But it would have been really cool to at least have some backstory, because I think that takes place about 50 or 60 years after the High Republic ends, I think. And also to how is Vern? What happened? Why did he leave you and stuff? I mean, that would have been, again, focus on Chimera, and then show what him and Plagueis are doing. They just missed a lot of the Jedi part. Was just the twins, and I don't know. Just
if you got rid of the twins, it's a way better show.
Yeah, see, I was thinking, she wasn't. I don't know. Like I said, I like the relationship she had with Chimera, but that's about it. I mean, she was a boring character. I like the crystal bleeding. I know a lot of people say, well, that's not canon. It takes hours and hours. Well, no one's going to sit there and watch that for hours. So you can't do that. You can only show it in like a few minutes. I actually like that. But yeah, she was probably the weakest part of it. But I think the show would have been better if they had just gone with season 2 and then maybe started season 2 had been season 1, and then maybe season 2 would have been the prequel season. I don't know. We might have tanked after that, but I think we would have gotten a lot better show.
Yeah.
No, I think that, like you guys bring it up, like they had so many ideas on this show that were not executed or not followed through on, and they were great ideas. And for some reason, like they were stuck on the twins and the witches and this weird mystery that wasn't even a mystery or interesting. It's like, but you have all like these other pieces that are fast and like these are what Star Wars fans. Well, this is intriguing stuff, and they're like, no.
And then you just have to say the fight scenes were amazing. I mean, they were amazing fight scenes.
They were probably the best fight seasons in Star Wars. I will say that. I will argue
they were
that.
definitely some of the best.
Have you seen A New Hope?
New Hope was the worst.
They were fantastic fight scenes.
Not the reimagined one. Those guys that did that one. That's like
the ships flying in to blow up the Death Star. Those were amazing. The lightsaber battle, not necessarily.
It's kind of like with Attack of the Clones. Yeah, some of the parts were not great, but the battle, the last 45 minutes is really, really good when they, in the arena, and then the battle with Anakin, with Dooku and Obi-Wan. The last 45 minutes of Attack Clones are really, really good. And before that, there's definitely some issues.
I love the opening chase when they try to save Padme and Sam Wessel's running away from them.
Yeah, I do like that.
I love that. That's one of my favorite Star Wars moments. I will die on that hill.
I know, like Acolyte is like that old nursery rhyme. When it was good, it was very good, but when it was bad, it was horrid.
I would agree with that.
You go back to Andor and Rogue One. We know how it's going to end. I always said that if you have good storytelling, you can get away with anything. I always said that I never wanted to see a movie about getting the plans to Death Star 2 because we know it's a trap. So what's the point? But if you have good story, I think you could get away with it. Like a lot of people just loved the opening of Revenge of the Sith. I didn't care for it because all I saw was CGI. I knew this was all for nothing because I knew they were all being played by Palpatine because they're going to rescue Palpatine. I'm sitting there thinking, and I don't know about other OG fans, but I'm sitting there thinking, what's the point of this? He's just playing them. This is all for nothing. We're just watching all of this, and this guy's just playing them the whole time. There was just too much at once. Perhaps if the story had been carried out and what they went through and trying to find him and everything they did. So if it had been a good story, I think it might have been better. And I think if you had an Andor type show, how well written, maybe I would want to see a movie about the Bothians who died getting the Death Star 2 plans. But if it's just action or just talking, I don't think I would want to see that at all. But if it was a good,
I just want to see a Bothan. Just see one because we've never seen one. We hear about them.
One guy named Manny.
I mean, they were in the Legends, but we've never seen them in any canon stuff. I mean,
nope.
I know Legends they are in some of the books and stuff, but that's what the New Republic. There's like.
You brought up a good point, Heidi, where you're like, what's the point of this? But George Lucas had 3 movies to tell his story because he called A New Hope Episode 4 after he made it. The part of the problem with the sequels is it shouldn't have been 3. They shouldn't have handcuffed themselves with 3 movies.
Yeah.
Like, we're not in a trilogy era of movie making anymore. We're in the Marvel Cinematic Universe of let's just keep this going. We're in the Hobbit universe of here's more Hobbit movies, which I know are trilogies, but still, like they just kept making them. And so I think when they handcuffed themselves with 3 movies and didn't have a plan, when they got to the third one and they didn't have an ending, they should have just been like, you know what? Let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
And they could have had. Good.
Oh, I think if they would have kept going, then that movie doesn't have to rush its ending and try to wrap everything up that was never going to get wrapped up nicely anyway, because the 2 directors they had were oil and water. But you just keep going. Or you do it in a way where you kind of end it, but then right away they're like, and now the next saga starts and we're following character X into the next saga or something.
I mean, to J.J. Abrams' credit, he did want to do 2. He wanted to do a 9 and 10 because he felt like 8 did give him enough room to finish the story, and they said no, you can only do one movie. So I think
Yeah,
his
'cause
point, he would have been right if he had been able to do two.
and he only took it over. I mean, he took it over, and I think he was pretty much had it completed within like a year and a half or 2 years.
Yeah, it was
instead
crazy.
of the normal 3. So he had to and he redid a whole lot of it because of. I mean, it's completely different than the Duel of the Fates.
Yeah.
That which one? That was
Trevorrow.
the Jurassic guy,
Colin
right?
Trevorrow.
And he the guy that
Yeah.
does Jurassic World.
Yeah, Colin Trevorrow.
Yeah.
Colin Trevorrow.
But I didn't like that version either. So
Again, has some good, some bad. I mean, it was pretty cool to hear about Ray, having a double lightsaber. I mean, we all wanted to see that, and we never got to see that. Just some of the basic thing, like I just don't understand still why in Exegol there's not Force ghosts, at least of some of the fame, Anakin and them. I don't know why they didn't do that. It was very simple, or just basic stuff like instead of Hux or instead of just some random admiral, have Thrawn in the sequel. He's the head of the whole thing. There would have been people that just would have liked it better just because of that, because you just threw Thrawn in there. Because and people that didn't know about Thrawn, well, you don't care. It's just another guy. But if you knew about him, then I think you wouldn't have had. And to me, they're just some really basic stuff that are not very hard. They just sometimes they don't.
I loved Last Jedi. Don't get me wrong, but I mean there are things that would have been different. I wouldn't have had Holdo. I would have had the admiral that I would have had problems with. I would have had it been Admiral Akbar. I would not have.
Yes, I agree.
And then that would have made it even more impactful when they commit suicide by
there's a guy that made a
Star Destroyer.
There's a guy that made a Last Jedi where he put in, I mean, a lot of the same episodes, but then he cut in some things from that scenes that were not shown in the movie, and his Admar was the one that did the Holdo move, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Well, I would have had Rose get in front of Finn's ship, so she got killed instead of him because she stopped him from committing suicide, and it's like, well, now we're all gonna die. But what she should have done was just fly in front herself instead of knocking him out. That's what she should have done. She could have died a hero. And
sacrifice herself.
Instead of having Leia fly through space, what she should have done was use the Force to stop the explosion, let other people escape, then the explosion not kill her but injure her greatly. I think that would have been a much better story, more believable than Leia Poppins flying through space.
I never really
y'all.
The whole Akbar replacing Holdo, it was never something that I was crazy about, but I won't lie. I don't hate it, but my thing is, I remember watching that movie in the theater the first time, and just they're like, Admiral Akbar's dead, and it's off screen, and they mention it off screen, like everything is like what?
That's all they did. Like that was the.
I know. And look, he's not. Look, we love him because it's a trap, and he does a little bit in Return of the Jedi, and then he kind of shows up in Force Awakens, and we're like, but but he became like a fan favorite, and that's the disrespect that you give. Like that was what threw me. I'm just like, did they just do that off? No way. No, and
then like the Force Awakens, Leia doesn't hug Chewie; she hugs Rey. Yeah. She's known Rey for like 2 days or something. Chewie protected her through, for years and years, and Han just passed, and and I still always blame the trailers made it look like for Episode 7 Luke was in it more. The trailers portrayed it like that Luke was going to be in it more. And I'm like, where is he? Where is he? And then he's in for 5 seconds. I mean, I know. I just, to me, it just would have been if he'd been the one catching, in the Force Awakens, when Rey touches the saber, that awakens it, and wakens up Luke because he had cut himself off. And obviously, then he goes and he catches the saber, pushes and fights Kylo. I don't know. That to me, that was too easy, I guess.
Like, why was it drawn to her?
Exactly. Yeah. Anyway,
that's another story or whatever.
Han's like, how do you get this?
But that's another problem I have with the sequels on top of my other one that I mentioned to you guys earlier from the within stuff. And part of that that like you're watching as a fan is the Luke Skywalker stuff, and it goes right back to the Michael Arndt script that was never used before J.J. Abrams, when he was like, every time Luke came on screen, he took over the scene. Every time he took it over, I'm like, why did he take it over? Because you are writing as a fan who is obsessed with, like, there is a way to have him in there where he doesn't command like all the attention. Like, you can put him in there easily. I don't know, like they weren't thinking. They were thinking writing this thing as people who are in love with Star Wars, as opposed to just someone who's writing a damn story. Like, you write the story, the character has to help out the story. You don't worry about who the character is or how powerful it is. The character has to fit in that. And yeah, he probably should have come in at that scene on Death Star when everybody thought, or whatever the hell it's called,
Star Killer,
Star Killer base, when everybody thought he was showing up. It's and then, I mean, the other problem is that the original kind of movie ended with him floating and rocks all around, and he was so powerful with the Force. And the next movie, he's like, I don't have the Force. It's like right there is like how. Here's the problem: how you greenlight something. This is on Kathleen Kennedy now, KK. But like, how do you greenlight a movie that ends one way, and then you greenlight the next movie, which totally contradicts what just happened in that last movie? Like, how does that happen? And I think one of the big problems is, aside from just not being able to read, I guess, is they started making The Last Jedi too early. They should have started making that after The Force Awakens was cut. That's when he probably should have started writing it. There should have maybe 4 years or 3 years in between movies again might have been very beneficial for them, because Rian Johnson, whatever you think of Last Jedi, to put that aside for a second, because Rian Johnson was writing a script based on another script and maybe some dailies. Like, there was no movie for him to watch and be like, this is, and movies are made in the edit suite. They're cut together and then they're reshot, and then like things change. But he's making a movie based on a script that was inevitably going to be changed.
But Disney wanted to push them out so they could make their money back.
Yeah. And so now you have like that contradictory ending, and then the two sides, you don't know what's going on. And the other problem is, sorry, Heidi, is you wait 2 years for Luke Skywalker to show up at the end, and he tosses that lightsaber, and the 2 years of buildup, you're just like,
I know, you're like
what the heck just happened? If they would have gone 1 year, I think the reaction is a little bit different. I don't think people are still happy, but I think it's a little bit different. But you wait 2 years of a buildup of what's going to happen with Luke, what's going to happen with Luke. Yeah, and it's Luke. And so you've been waiting for the whole movie and an extra year now. And the first thing he does is that. I think either you do that in The Force Awakens
anymore. I don't care about the Jedi.
I think you can do that in The Force Awakens, and then you're like, why? What are we waiting for? And then you got to wait your 2 years to figure it out, or you just don't start it that way, and you start the movie later on, and he's miserable later on, and you just don't acknowledge that moment, like that happens off camera, off screen.
I just think showing when she grabbed it, all of a sudden they flick to something, and you just see his TIE fighter just fly out of the ocean, and you know who's TIE fighter. I mean, not TIE fighter, X-wing. Yeah. They don't have to even show him, but when she touches it, it flashes to the screen. That just shows a TIE fighter flying out, or X-wing, and you know that is Luke. That shows that woke him up, and then obviously he feels the Han thing, and then you understand what him and Kylo, why Kylo hates his uncle so much, and you've come to save, whatever, similar, whatever crap he tried to save me, uncle, and all this. And then you wouldn't also have had where people are like, how did Rey know how to? There's no way she could have beat Kylo. Which, I mean, I have to agree. I don't know how she would have beat Kylo, but
I would say he was injured and there was an attraction, blah blah blah. A whole bunch of
and she's a Palpatine.
Yeah,
and you do see that. You do see him. She's doing the Palpatine thing when you watch Force Awakens. She is. I mean, that was
I'll tell you what they were thinking. They were thinking, we just put Star Wars on it, and it's going to make millions, and it's going to make fans happy. What? Exactly. And this isn't a slam. I don't even think there's a slam against the prequels. Prequels made a lot of money, but there are a lot of people who didn't like it. You forget they didn't like it. So I think Disney was like, well, no one liked the prequels, and it made a lot of money, so we can put whatever we want on it. It doesn't matter. All we have to do is put Star Wars on it. We could do stick figures. We could re-release the hardware wars. As long as we put Star Wars on it, it's going to make billions of dollars.
You're not wrong. Like, they tried to ignore the prequels, but the problem with the prequels was the kids who were 10, 11 years old when the prequels came out became 20-year-olds.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they're like, well, where's my Star Wars? You're showing my parents' Star Wars, but where's my Star Wars? And Disney was like, F you. I don't like that stuff. I hate the prequels. But now you're seeing the prequels are really like Mando stuff. They're always throwing in prequel stuff because those kids aren't kids anymore. They're adults, and they're the ones that Star Wars has to survive on for the next 20 years until those next generation comes up with the sequels. And then the prequel, they're going to say the sequels suck, and then Disney's going to ignore the sequels, and then the sequel fans are going to be adults, and they're going to be like, where's my Star Wars? And BB-8's going to make a comeback. Turn on my Sphero.
There was, I think it was the Resistant podcast a couple years ago, or way before that, like whenever they revealed Palpatine at Celebration. He said, roll it again. Remember when he did that? That. Well, I think it was it was either John or Lacey or the other guy that's not there anymore. I can't remember his name. They were walking out, and then some kid that was like dressed as Ray and big Ray fan. She was like, "Dad, who was that old guy on the stage?" He's like, "What? What do you mean who that was?"
I mean,
because she didn't know, she didn't remember. Because I guess she had not seen the prequels or something. I don't know, or maybe she just didn't remember.
I mean, I think the whole. I mean, I guess the Palpatine thing. It was just slapped together because obviously, I mean, the last. I like the Last Jedi. I don't think I didn't like. I did a lot about the Last Jedi I liked, but the Last Jedi, if they knew what they were doing, should have ended. Not with just Broom Boy, but when it faded to black, you should have heard Palpatine laughing in the background.
Yeah, that would have been, I mean,
well,
for
again,
sure.
you have to plan these things out, and
right, it wasn't planned.
Like the thing is, I know, like Disney does it. I think you love the Rey Nobody stuff. Rey Nobody for me is not a bad idea, but it only works if she's not in the Skywalker saga. The minute you throw her in this, which the stupid title, Skywalker saga is stupid. Can we just say it's stupid? It's Star Wars. Is it just the Star Wars saga? But if you're doing the Skywalker saga and your main character has nothing to do with any of it, what's the point of Rey if she's not connected? I know it's like, she doesn't have to be connected. I know she doesn't, except that you are making this about the Skywalkers. So where's the connection? And if she's nobody, then there has to be something deeper with Kylo. Like something's got to be going on for her to be the main character of the Skywalker saga and not be anybody. Like the whole, I don't know. I feel like J.J. Abrams had an original idea for her. Rian Johnson was like, nah, nobody. And then Palpatine.
See, I think what would have been good if they could have run with the Rey Nobody thing. She was another chosen one, like Anakin, and
if you connect it,
the guy who thought her was her father knew that wasn't her daughter. He thought his wife was unfaithful. They were alcoholics. He probably told her that she had to leave him on this planet, and probably abusive father. I mean, this could have been very interesting, very in depth. You could have had Rey and Kylo Ren dream about each other all their lives and communicating when they were asleep through the Force. There's a lot of things you could have done that was interesting. Supposedly, and I think this ended up being more of Kylo's backstory. There was a rumor going around that there was going to be like the Sith cult, and they actually used a virgin Sith member. They got her pregnant. She had Rey. Luke took his students to destroy this baby, and Kylo couldn't do it. How can you be good if you're going to destroy this innocent baby? And so Kylo Ren was supposed to take the baby, leave it on Jakku, and the line was supposed to be reflective of what everyone thought the original line was going to be in Empire Strikes Back, which was when Kylo Ren was going to reveal to Rey, Luke killed your mother.
So, that's some pretty deep and dark stuff.
This all sounds better.
Yeah, well, there's more thought put into it than what we got. And I just look, my thing with Rey is the Rey Nobody still. You're still connecting her in ways that they never did at all in the movies. And I think they needed to the Force Awakens needed to just freaking nip it in the butt who she was. And the one thing that drives me nuts is I'm waiting for my parents to come back in the Force Awakens, and in the Last Jedi, I never knew my parents. You just changed her whole story. Like in the Force Awakens, she never said she didn't know them. She says she's waiting for them, and she's got like a little like chart on map. I'm waiting, and she makes her super quick bread and all that, and she's just like, "Oh, they're gonna be here eventually." And then the next one, she's like, I'm gonna have to rewatch it, but I'm pretty sure they changed the narrative on her. And then she's like, "I never met them," and I'm like, "Did you not meet them?"
I don't know. I don't know if she. Because
also, you're like 9 years old when they drop you off on Jakku.
I don't know if she said I never met. I'm not sure, but because I mean,
I never knew my parents. She says something.
Because the book that actually is one of the best, one of the really best canon books that I've listened to.
Yeah, it's a good book.
Is Secrets of the Sith.
Oh, and that's not what
that. That's about where Luke and Lando went looking for, that's the story of them going and trying to find Bassoon or whatever that guy's name is. The book and the other story of it is Rey's parents trying to get away from Ochi's, because Ochi's hunting them down. So it's a really good, like it really is one of the very best, because it has really good, powerful Luke, and it has Lando, because this is when Lando's, he's looking for his kid, and his kid was taken by the First Order. So him and Luke are both in the same kind of, and then it also talks about how Rey, his parents, and there's no way that, so that doesn't, I don't think she said I don't remember, because she's not her parents till she was like 7 or 8 years old. So.
I thought she was in denial.
Maybe so.
I thought you said that she was in denial that their parents were drunkards, and she just forgot about it because she was in denial or something. That's what I thought, that she was purposely forgot that she built them up to be better than they were or something like that. That's what I got.
Her dad was a failed clone of Palpatine or something.
Yeah, but the original was alcoholics. So I figured, oh, he's a abusive father.
The Force Awakens trailer came out, Rey shooting her gun, she's filled with so much rage. I was really hoping that they would play around with her and her dark side a little bit.
Oh yeah.
And they never even bothered. And they're like, "Oh, look at Dark Rey, she's a Palpatine."
Yeah, Dark Rey was cool. Like they could have done the big twist in Last Jedi where she does join him and goes to the dark side, and then hopefully they would then find, okay, we need to have a good Jedi. So then you have Finn, who's trained by Luke, and Luke would have been in Episode 9 a lot more, and they would have both tried to get her back. That would have been that's a lot different story, but that would have been a cool twist. That would have been pretty awesome. I don't think they really needed to, when he did that, I don't think he really needed the crate scene. I mean, that was like a whole nother huge battle that I think if Rey joins him,
it's the Empire Strikes Back in reverse, right?
I don't really think they need that. But they could have had Luke, then Finn could have been the Jedi, like we all think he is, and then they go and get him back because they got to face Palpatine. You can still keep the Palpatine thing, and that's just would have been good because Mark would have been in it more because he wasn't really in it, and he's just so good in those movies.
Or maybe they gotta find her and she's on the baby,
So on the Spaceballs, you think Spaceballs will? Because back when they did the first one, they didn't have like millions and millions of years of all this stuff. Do you think they'll throw any of the kind of the newer stuff? Things from Mandalorian, things from the sequels. You know what I'm saying?
I hope it's called. Was it the? What did he say it was going to be called? The Yogurt said it was going to be called the Spaceballs, the sequel, the Quest for More Money. I hope it's called the Quest for More Money.
We'll see.
Just funny scenes I've thought about it is, in Mando when Luke says you can be a Jedi or you can be a Mandalorian, it's your choice, and then Grogu, I've actually decided I want to be a kid actor. I mean, I can do that for 300 years. Because he's so little. He goes, I want to be the next Webster or something.
Oh my God, Webster!
I just be funny if they, like the Knights of Ren. It's not a big vicious thing. They're like a rock band or something. You know what I mean? Or something. I don't know. It'd just be fun. Be interesting to see if they throw any of that stuff in there.
See, I mean, I that's what I was hoping. I was hoping Chimera was going to be the one to start the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
It seemed like he didn't really want to be a Sith either.
I think they were going in that direction though, but I guess I mean, maybe we'll get that in a book or something, but it would be nice if they.
Yeah, he's this great character. We're gonna stick him in a book.
That's what Star Wars does, though. Sooner just said like his favorite book just explained everything you want to know about everything.
Yes, that book was amazing.
They're like, no, this is a really good idea. Let's throw in a book that 47 people will read.
And it
you know
explains what about Rey's parents, about what Lando and Luke did, and all. I mean, it was really, really good.
Well, like
and most people don't know about it.
Like Jaina was supposed to be Lando's daughter, and there was a whole thing. And it sounded like they were the First Order was doing with Force sensitive kids what the Jedi used to, except they were making them stormtroopers, and because I think both Jaina and Finn were Force sensitive. So was it just Force sensitive kids they were?
Well, the reason they took Lando's is everybody that was a high up in the rebellion. They just searched out and tried to take those people's kids.
Oh, cool.
See, I thought it'd been great. I would have had like Finn be like after Leia and Han got divorced. I'd like Finn be like Leia and Lando's illegitimate. Although I guess he had a relationship with Holdo. There's a whole comic book about them and having a relationship. Lando and Holdo.
Oh, really? It's not one I've watched a lot of. I've listened to a lot of animated. I mean, the animated. I mean, there's YouTube channels that I don't know how. They do the whole like people that do that like that do that. I mean, are they? How do they do that? Because they can't make money. I mean, they don't make money, but they're literally putting the and just doing them on there. But it's a lot of work. I mean, do they make money from that? They can't make money because Disney owns it all, right?
Well, this is an official canon comic book.
No, but I'm saying on YouTube sites called Audio Star Wars, they have all these. And I'm just curious in the business side of it. All these, I mean, they have hundreds of comics that they go in and they've just read them and do voices. I can't see people making much money from that because Disney owns all that.
Yeah, but if they I know Wicked. If you review Wicked, like as long they have to put like a blurb over they'll have like Wicked in white over the picture. So as long as they're like hiding the screen, so maybe what they do is they just don't show the comic that much and you only hear it.
No, I see the comic. They have all the whole comic.
Well, then I guess they'll take it down a lot. Maybe they don't like
they've had Audio Star Wars for 10 years. It's got like 50,000
well, don't talk about them. Disney might be listening. They have ears on.
I'm just curious how that works because
tomorrow they shut down because of.
I know. What did that happen? Audio? That's freaking.
One of the 10 people watching Rebel Scum podcast and was on it. On that note, we should wrap it up. We've gone overtime on this one. This was a lot of fun to talk Star Wars. I miss doing this. Miss talking Star Wars.
Yes, it's very fun. Appreciate it.
I just want to bring up one thing. You were talking about New Hope and how it was changed to 4 after it got released on HBO.
Yeah.
Do you know what the working title of Empire Strikes Back originally was?
Empire?
I used to. Is Blue Harvest was
Star Wars 2. No, Blue Harvest was Return of the Jedi. It's called Star Wars 2.
Hey, they didn't need to back then. There was no internet.
Because I remember when they even released posters of Revenge of the Jedi. For episode 6.
I remember the ad for it.
Yeah, there was a trailer, Revenge of the Jedi. And then like a year later, it's Return of the Jedi.
Everyone gets to change what they're doing. All right, we're going to wrap it up sooner. Anything you want to promote, plug, tell everybody where you are, follow you. You're a big summer sports guy. You love this time of year for your sports. You're on the Ultimate Frisbee YouTube channel 24/7.
Yeah.
Vermont's here just as we're leaving. Hi, Vermont. Bye.
No, just soon as on Twitter. Anybody who wants to, wants to talk Star Wars or sports. That's where I'm at.
Twitter. Yeah. Heidi, anything you want to talk about?
Vermont's ever heard of Wawa?
Anyone heard of Wawa?
If you want, you can go to Amazon and HEIDIFEDOR, Heidi Feder. You can look at my books, but you have to be 18 and older. Please.
And you guys have Prime Day? Is Prime Day tomorrow for you guys too?
Yeah, it's
it
Prime
Day. Yeah, so maybe your books will be on sale and people can get a deal and buy the whole bookography. Is a
Oh,
bookography.
literally on sale.
My book was on sale. There was only one left apparently. I was like, that's strange.
Hey, I liked your music video. That was good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have a music video. If you haven't checked it out, watch it. What are you waiting for? It's the greatest music video that I've made. It's the only one I've ever made.
Also, if anyone's interested in being an author, I actually have ideas of things that I don't want to put out, but if anyone else wants to write them,
You got some good ideas.
Yeah, I just don't want to write them myself.
Writing is a lot of work. And I've been working on something that you've written also lately. I've been working on it.
Yeah. I used to crank out stories like every 3 months. And it's like I haven't written in a couple of years now.
It's funny how it works. Yeah. I love writing.
Can't read, but I can write stories like I mean, I can read, but I can't understand what I'm reading. It's the whole.
That's because you're reading all of Andrew Fantasia's book, and they're all written in Elvish.
I think I told that story. I had it on the couch, and I actually knocked on the floor, and it just made this huge thud, and the cat just ran down to the basement.
All right. On that note, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you everybody for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe button. We'll be back. Actually, Brock and I are back with episode 374 tomorrow. We're on tomorrow, and then he goes on vacation. I hope you guys can make it 9. I don't know what time, actually. I shouldn't say. I think it's going to be 9 p.m., but I'm not sure. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Once again, may the force of others be with you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest